You didn't fall in love with them. You fell in love with who they pretended to be. Pause. Let it sink in, Pete, and by the time you realize the truth, that it was all smoke and mirrors, you were already hooked. Today, I'm going to talk about something we don't talk about enough. Not just love, not just heartbreak, but the invisible war happening behind closed doors. The lies, the manipulation, and the emotional whiplash that comes when you love someone who cannot love you back the way you deserve. This isn't just about bad relationships. It's about narcissism. And once you see it, you'll never unsee it again. So buckle up, because I'm about to show you the dark truth they never see coming. But you will. Narcissists don't fall in love with you. They fall in love with your admiration. That's the uncomfortable truth most people don't realize until it's too late. When you first meet them, they seem magnetic, charming, intensely interested in you. They compliment you, mirror your values, and give you the feeling that you've finally found someone who truly sees you. But what's actually happening is something far more calculated. They're assessing how useful you are to their ego. This isn't about love as a mutual exchange of trust, safety, and respect. For a narcissist, love is a transaction. You provide the attention, the praise, the validation, and in return, they offer a curated version of themselves designed to hook you. They're not in love with you as a whole person. They're in love with the reflection of themselves they see in your eyes. The way you light up when they walk in the room. The way you defend them, believe in them, idolize them. Even when things start to feel off, what keeps you stuck is that in the beginning, it really does feel magical. The intensity, the passion, the high. But that's the trick. Narcissists thrive on intensity because it distracts you from what's missing: intimacy. They don't want to truly know you. They want to own the way you see them. And the moment your admiration slips, the moment you start questioning, setting boundaries, or showing cracks in your idealized view of them, that's when things shift. Coldness replaces warmth. Criticism creeps in. You're no longer useful in the same way, so they start to withdraw or lash out. This is why so many people feel like they've failed in these relationships. You gave everything. You loved hard. You believed in their potential. But they weren't seeking love. They were seeking supply. And when the supply runs low, they don't fix things. They find someone new who doesn't yet see behind the mask. Understanding this doesn't just help you heal. It helps you reclaim your worth. Because the love you gave was real. It just landed on someone who couldn't return it. Love bombing isn't love. It's bait. At first, it feels like a dream. You meet someone, and suddenly you're the center of their universe. They text you constantly, shower you with compliments, say everything you've always wanted to hear. It's intense, intoxicating, and fast. You're not just falling. You're free falling. But beneath the rush is a very calculated tactic. This isn't spontaneous romance. It's a performance, and you're the audience. The goal isn't connection, it's control. Love bombing is a manipulative tool designed to overwhelm your nervous system, override your intuition, and fast-track your emotional investment before you even have time to think. It's not a natural build of affection, it's an emotional ambush. They make you feel so seen, so chosen, that your brain starts to attach before your logic has a chance to raise a red flag. You find yourself saying, "This is too good to be true." But you don't listen to that voice. You want to believe it's finally your turn for a fairy tale. That's the hook. They create a fantasy version of a relationship, not grounded in reality or genuine compatibility, but in intensity and illusion. And you're not falling in love with them. You're falling in love with the version of them they want you to see. It's all about how fast they can get you to let your guard down, trust them, and begin centering your world around theirs. Once you're emotionally entangled, the tone shifts. The messages slow down. The warmth fades. The pedestal they put you on starts to wobble. Now you're confused. What did you do wrong? Why is the person who once couldn't stop praising you suddenly distant, moody, or critical? And that confusion becomes the next layer of control. You start chasing the high from the beginning, doing more, giving more, trying to earn back their love, not realizing it was never love in the first place. It was bait, and you took it because you're human, because you want to believe in connection. But love that rushes in to consume you is not love that stays to grow with you. It's manipulation dressed up as devotion. The cycle of idealize, devalue, and discard is not random. It's a strategy. When you're dealing with a narcissist, their behavior can feel unpredictable, even chaotic, but it's actually disturbingly methodical. This three-stage cycle isn't about emotional immaturity or impulsiveness. It's about power. It's a pattern designed to condition you into becoming dependent, confused, and constantly chasing their approval. From the outside, it might seem like things just didn't work out. But if you've lived through it, you know how calculated and emotionally devastating it truly is. It begins with idealization. This is the stage where they place you on a pedestal. You're perfect in their eyes, the soulmate they've waited for, the answer to every problem they've ever had. They mirror your values, your dreams, even your wounds. They agree with everything you say, and you feel an almost surreal level of connection. You're thinking, no one's ever understood me like this before. They might call it fate. You start to believe it. But what's really happening is that they are studying you, learning what makes you tick, figuring out how to hook you deeper. Every compliment, every romantic gesture, every intense conversation isn't about knowing you. It's about securing their emotional control over you. Once that control is established, they shift into the devalue phase. This is where the cracks start to show, not because you've changed, but because they've gotten what they needed, your emotional attachment. Now the mask starts to slip. The same qualities they once praised in you, your sensitivity, your ambition, your independence, suddenly become irritants. They may start to criticize you subtly, then more openly. Sarcasm creeps in. They might withdraw affection, make backhanded compliments, or even compare you to others. The goal here is to destabilize your self-worth, to make you question yourself, and more importantly, to make you work to get back to that magical idealization stage. And you do. Most people in this phase double down. You try harder. You bend over backward thinking if you just love them better, communicate more, or avoid triggering them, things will return to how they were. But that original version of them wasn't real. It was a tool, a lure. And now that you're fully invested, they exploit that investment. You become addicted to the cycle, constantly chasing the brief glimpses of the person they pretended to be, not realizing that every effort you make is feeding their control. Eventually, it moves to the discard phase. This can be abrupt or slow, but the message is always the same: you're no longer useful. They may ghost you, start a fight and blame you, or line up someone new behind your back. Sometimes they discard you emotionally long before they physically leave, making you feel invisible in your own relationship. And perhaps the most painful part, they often act like you never mattered at all. They erase the connection, rewrite the narrative, and may even paint you as the problem to others. It's emotionally brutal, because you're left not just with heartbreak, but with confusion, shame, and a deep sense of betrayal. This cycle isn't an accident. It's how narcissists maintain control, feed their egos, and avoid accountability. Each phase is designed to extract what they want while keeping you off balance. The pattern repeats itself with new people, not because their new target is better, but because that person hasn't yet seen behind the mask. And if you don't recognize the cycle for what it is, you're at risk of being pulled back in when they inevitably circle back, which they often do. Understanding this cycle is the first step in breaking free from it, because once you see it, you stop blaming yourself. You stop fantasizing about the good times, and you start reclaiming your power from someone who is never looking to love you, only to use you. You cannot fix someone who benefits from being broken. This is one of the hardest truths to accept when you've loved a narcissist. Because if you're the kind of person who leads with empathy, who sees the best in people, who believes that love can heal, then you've probably spent a long time trying to save someone who never actually wanted to be saved. It's not that they don't know they hurt you. It's that your pain doesn't inconvenience them enough to make them stop. In fact, in many cases, your pain feeds their power. The imbalance keeps them in control. Narcissists are often masters at playing the victim when it benefits them. They'll tell you sob stories about their past, reveal just enough vulnerability to make you believe they're capable of change. And because you're compassionate, you hold on. You convince yourself that if you just love them hard enough, stay patient enough, endure enough, that someday they'll see what they're doing and stop. But here's the trap. They know exactly what they're doing. They are not confused. They're not unaware. They are consciously choosing behaviors that benefit them, even if it breaks you. Every time you forgive without accountability, you teach them that your boundaries are flexible. Every time you stay after they tear you down, you reinforce the idea that you will tolerate the bare minimum. You think you're showing strength, commitment, unconditional love. But to them, you're showing that they don't need to change, that their worst behavior still gets rewarded with your presence. And this is where the damage multiplies, because the more you invest in fixing them, the more broken you become. You lose sleep, you walk on eggshells, you silence your needs, all in the hope that they will eventually become the person they promised to be. But narcissists don't evolve through love. They exploit it. And they often seek out people who are natural fixers, givers, healers. People who mistake chaos for depth, they know that your compassion is a powerful resource, and they weaponize it. You're not just trying to help them. You're trying to prove your worth by fixing them. And that's the hook. If you can finally reach them, if you can finally make them see, then you'll believe you're lovable, valuable, enough. But healing doesn't work that way. Your worth was never supposed to be earned through someone else's suffering. The hardest part is realizing that no matter how much you sacrifice, you will never be enough for someone who doesn't want to be held accountable. They don't want to heal because their dysfunction works for them. It gives them excuses. It allows them to manipulate. It protects their fragile ego by keeping them in a position of control. And anyone who challenges that, anyone who gets too close to the truth, is pushed away, attacked, or blamed. So if you're waiting for a breakthrough, for the day they finally wake up and say, I see what I've done and I want to change, you could be waiting forever. The transformation you're hoping for. It starts with you. It starts with walking away from the illusion that your love has to be earned through suffering. It starts with releasing the responsibility to fix what someone else is actively choosing to keep broken. Because no matter how much you care, no matter how deeply you feel, you cannot change someone who is committed to staying exactly who they are. And the moment you stop trying to save them, you start saving yourself. Silence, confusion, and self-doubt are their weapons. Clarity is yours. When you're entangled with a narcissist, the most dangerous part isn't the yelling, the insults, or even the manipulation you can see. It's the silence and confusion they leave behind. You find yourself questioning what's real. You replay conversations in your head, wondering if you misunderstood, overreacted, or somehow caused the chaos yourself. This isn't accidental. It's psychological warfare, and it's meant to keep you in a fog. One of the most common tactics narcissists use is gaslighting, making you doubt your own memory, your perception, and eventually your sanity. They say something hurtful, then deny ever saying it. They do something cruel, then blame it on your reaction. You're told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, too emotional. And over time, you start to believe it. You start apologizing for things that aren't your fault. You second guess your instincts. You give them the benefit of the doubt while withholding it from yourself. That's exactly how they maintain control. By making you question your inner compass. Then there's the silence, not the kind that brings peace, but the kind that punishes, the kind that leaves you in a state of panic, wondering what you did wrong. It's called the silent treatment, and it's not about conflict resolution. It's about power. They withhold affection, communication, and presence, and you're left trying to earn your way back into their good graces. It conditions you to associate silence with fear and approval with safety. That's not love. That's control. And all of this leads to a profound erosion of self-trust. You stop listening to yourself. You ignore red flags. You minimize your needs and your pain just to keep the peace. You become so focused on managing their emotions that you lose touch with your own. It's slow, it's subtle, and it's devastating. Because by the time you realize something's wrong, you don't just feel broken, you feel lost. But here's where the shift begins: clarity. Clarity is your way out. It's not just knowing what's happening. It's trusting that what you feel is valid, that your memories are real, that your emotions are justified. It's choosing to believe yourself again, even if they never do. Clarity cuts through the fog. It doesn't fix them, but it frees you. Because when you stop playing their game, when you stop arguing with their lies and start listening to your truth, you reclaim the power they tried to take from you. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens moment by moment. Every time you choose honesty over denial, boundaries over guilt, and self-trust over self-doubt, the tools they use to control you, silence, confusion, doubt, lose their grip the moment you start to see them for what they are. The most powerful act of love is leaving what destroys you. It sounds simple, maybe even obvious, but when you're in the middle of a toxic relationship, especially one with a narcissist, this truth feels like a betrayal. You've poured your heart into this person. You've defended them, excused them, held on to hope for who they might become. You told yourself it's just a phase. They've had a hard life. They didn't mean it. You stayed because you thought love meant never giving up. But the harsh reality is that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for them and for yourself is to walk away. There's a myth we carry that love means suffering, that if it's real, it should be hard. That loyalty means enduring mistreatment and sticking it out no matter what. But that's not love. That's survival mode. That's trauma disguised as commitment. True love, real love, isn't supposed to make you question your worth. It doesn't make you feel small, unsafe, or invisible. Love doesn't hurt like that. What hurts is the manipulation, the cycles of affection followed by emotional neglect, the gaslighting, the silence, the blame. And every time you stay, you shrink, you compromise, you disappear a little more just to keep the peace. People will say, but they need me. No, they need someone to absorb their damage so they don't have to face it themselves. That's not your job. You are not their therapist, their emotional punching bag, or their savior. You are a person with needs, with value, with a right to peace. And when a relationship consistently robs you of those things, it's not an